What is up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. Joining me, as he always does, very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for another edition of the UNC basketball show. Good amount of stuff to talk about here. I know the season isn't even here yet. We obviously had the exhibition game against Memphis on October 15th, about 7 or 8 days after we're recording this one, about 7-8 days after that. We will hit on a few kind of things about that game. One thing in particular, we'll also hit on some NBA stuff real quickly with some of the opening day rosters coming out, RJ Davis's health, amongst other things, as well as Carolina obviously has an exhibition game this weekend against Johnson C. Smith on Sunday in the Smith Center. That game kicks off at 2, and then the opener not too far away, a couple weeks away, that being on November 4th at home against Elon. So not an hour-long show by any means, but still plenty of topics we're going to hit on today.
Less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, man. Comes up quickly. As soon as football season, you get in the meat of football season, basketball kind of just, it's boom, it's there. And all of a sudden, basketball's started. So that's how it goes. The overlap is officially here, and it'll be here for a little bit longer, to say the least. But AJ, I want to start with, again, I know the Memphis game was a while ago. We hit on it in 3 things. You did some drops about it, so we're not going to rehash that game because that would just make no sense. But I want to talk about one key thing from it, because I think it's kind of funny. I tweeted about it. I think I tweeted about it late last week. But the overreaction from it, and this goes both ways. If some people hear overreaction, they think it's negative. It's not always negative in this situation. Not all of it was negative, but there were, I think, the 2 big things that I really hit on was, on the negative side, it was the Cade Tyson talk. I saw a lot of negative talk about Cade Tyson, and a lot of people on Twitter, on message boards, being like, oh yeah, Cade Tyson, he can't play at this level. He's not good enough to play at Carolina. I'm envisioning, it's almost like some people were like, I envisioned some of these people like watching every second of the game, every second Cade Tyson was on the floor, slowing it down and watching. You got people saying, well, his footwork, he's not quick enough with his feet. And I'm like, guys, it's one exhibition game. And then on the other side, you've got some of maybe the overreaction with Seth Trimble's performance, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. He was incredible that game. But at the end of the day, like you've said in a couple of drops, it's an exhibition game. His career high is still what, 14? I mean, it doesn't count. 12, for the record books. So
Cade Tyson sucks, and Seth Trimble's going to play for 10 years in the league.
That's basically what the overreaction is. Yeah. And that's what I want to talk about, because I find it fascinating. And I find the Cade Tyson one in particular fascinating, because the jumping to conclusions and, okay, I saw him play like 20 plus minutes in an exhibition game, he's not good enough to play for Carolina. It got people online say you might as well just like kick him off the team and bring somebody else in, which you can't do. It's just, I find that talk fascinating, and I figured this would be maybe a good time to talk people off the ledge and at least address the topic, because for me, I can't really wrap my head around it. But the amount of chatter I saw in particular about Cade Tyson, I thought was actually a little bit surprising, the amount of negativity I saw surrounding him.
Because I have to spend an awful lot of time looking at comments, because we've been very active on our Facebook page, and I also post a lot of our videos and some of these other boards. They gave us permission to do that. Just get more people awareness that we're here. Not enough people know we're here. And our boards, which are fairly reasonable, Twitter, of course, isn't.
No.
X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. There's just a lot of irrational people. I had to text a friend who was just ripping Cade Tyson.
It's like, come on, man.
My response was, it's October 15th.
Yeah.
He got all on me. I know basketball, blah, 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 blah. Okay.
I don't know how you can watch a guy play one time and be like, your defense is, well, I know
here's
basketball.
The thing. What we talked about that night, and I stand by it now. And I'm not saying he's going to be a great player for Carolina. I'm not saying he's not going to be. What I'm saying is, I believe the adjustment is greater for him learning how to play with that kind of talent than play against that kind of talent. He's a guy who, if you go back and watch a lot of his stuff from Belmont, and I watched a lot of games, so many of his buckets were part of the offense drawn up for him. He was the first, second, or third option. The ball found him where he thought the ball would find him, in the manner he thought the ball might find him, if the ball was going to find him on certain possessions. with Carolina, and we saw this against Memphis, it's not that way. Carolina runs a lot more. He even said one time, I thought we played fast at Belmont. We didn't know what fast was. So he's adjusting to that. He's adjusting to playing with all this talent out there and finding his looks when they aren't a first, second, or third option, when the ball doesn't find him in a spot where he expects it to find him. That is a huge adjustment. I thought that was part of the struggle early. He had a 3 blocked. He had another one almost blocked. I thought the releases looked slow, but he kind of meshed into the game a little more as it went on. And he had that sequence from the left corner where he hit the 3 on one possession. The very next possession, used the pump fake, drove the baseline, scored. I think we're going to see more of that than not from him this year because that player is there. There's no doubt that player is there. Now, the range, I think, is here. The range meaning – and people want to put the Manic tag on him. I wish they'd stop because he's not a Brady Manic at all. He's not a Cormac Ryan. Just because certain attributes are the same doesn't mean we have to pigeonhole him like that. No. That's not the case for this guy. He's got a different game. He's longer than Cormac. He's a better driver than Brady. He's a better rebounder. He had 9 rebounds in the game. Everyone's trashing the guy, but I saw him on the floor going after loose balls. I saw him battling hard. I saw him rip away a few rebounds, and you could see some of the vigor that he did it with, which is something this team needs. I think you'll see him be a little bit more vocal. Everyone says he's super quiet, but on the floor, I could see just some stuff popping out as the game went on, and he had 9 rebounds.
Yeah. So
if a shooter is getting 9 rebounds for you, that's not a bad sign, but no one wants to talk about that.
No.
My advice is let's just see how he plays. Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Period.
Season hasn't even started.
If he cannot play at this level, everyone will know by Christmas or by late January if he cannot play at this level. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
And he deserves that, right? You can't watch one exhibition game. I know it was a nationally televised game, on TV against a good Memphis team. But again, like the season hasn't even started yet, AJ. And we got fans, Carolina basketball fans that watch every single game and probably travel to games and go to games sitting here saying, yeah, he's not good enough to play. You made a great analogy off camera. It's like, I'll use your example. It's like traveling to Key West and on the first day, it just happens to rain and you're sitting there like, oh, this is a horrible place to live. Why would you ever want to live here? It rains every day. It's like you just got here. Like it doesn't rain every day. You know what I mean? It's just you can't jump to conclusions that fast. Is the main thing. Let
me intertwine this into the discussion. None of those people said a word about Ian Jackson.
Yeah. Drake Jackson throw in there too a little bit. Yeah.
Minus 16 at one point.
I know.
Ian Jackson looked like a freshman who isn't going to play much. Now, we know that's not true, but the very same people that were ripping Tyson didn't say a peep about Ian. And Cade Tyson was 100 times better than Ian Jackson in that game. So, okay, it's October 15th, and he's a freshman trying to work his way in. Drake Powell struggled a lot, but he was better defensively, and he was on the court during a couple of runs. He had a block shot in the second half. He did a little bit. He still looked like a freshman.
Yeah.
It was October 15th, and right now it's October 23rd.
Yeah.
October 23rd. So it's not November yet. And then when it's November, it's not December yet. Then you hit January, or hit December, and it's not January. When you hit January, mid-January, you get about 5 or 6 league games in. Then we can have a lot of these conversations. And even still, guys continue to ascend. Some guys continue to descend. We see it all the time. I'm going to use the word process a lot with this team because it is a process because they have 5 returning scholarship players. Everyone else is new. They have the makings of a fairly deep bench. They can go at least 9, maybe 10 deep, depending on Ty Claude and stuff. I'll leave it at that. I think it's going to be fun watching this come together. Interchangeable parts, playing fast, no Armando in the paint. Jay Wash looking pretty good, like we thought he would look. There's a lot of things that I find very interesting about this team. And because of that, it's going to take a while for Hubert and the staff to figure out exactly what kind of the order of things are and who's the guy that helps him in this game against that type of opponent as opposed to another game against that type of opponent. It's going to be fun to watch. We're going to learn a lot about Hubert as a coach. So get off Cade Tyson.
Yeah, pump the
If
brakes.
you're going to stay on him, then say something about Ian just to be right, because Ian was worse.
Yeah.
But people are looking at him, they look at his rank, and they say, hey, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Cade shot 45% in 2 years at Belmont from 3.
Yeah.
Good player. And Belmont plays the Missouri Valley Conference, which is a good league.
Mm-hmm. Showed some glimpses against Memphis too. Well, like you mentioned, it wasn't just all negative. 9 rebounds is good, man. If he gives you that every night, I mean, Carolina's in a great spot, going into the season. So, yeah, I think again with the exhibition is a ways back, but I did think it was worth addressing a little bit more, because I think that's just been the chatter, because people, obviously you get a little sample size and there's going to be a lot of talk from it, and there's still a lot of talk from it. So
the flip side's Trimble, right?
Addressing, yeah, and I thought Trimble.
Right, well, Trimble's not going to score 33 points a game.
Yeah, he's not going to give you that every night. Absolutely not. No.
He had the freedom of movement because RJ wasn't there, so the ball was in his hand. The ball found him more because RJ wasn't out there for the ball to find.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe against Johnson C. Smith, or certainly in the opener against Elon, the ball's going to find RJ so much, it's not going to find Seth as much. So what kind of player is Seth if the ball doesn't find him as much?
Yeah.
We know he's a good defender. I think at the 3, he could be a pretty good rebounder. He only had 1 rebound in the Memphis game. He said that the 1 and the 2 are on offense are going back on defense when the ball's shot. So there's not any offensive rebounding really happening there. I think he could be a really good weak side offensive rebounder. We've seen him get a couple of putbacks before. So if they do go small, you've got a guy like him and you've got a guy like Tyson who are proven offensive rebounders, or Tyson's a proven offensive rebounder. I think Trimble can be one. And if the shot's coming off the other side, they have a chance of getting some of that stuff and getting some quick points out of it. But Trimble's not going to score 33. His career high is still 12. He showed a lot of things in his game that we hadn't seen before, or we saw at a higher version of it. And that's the ball handle. That's the handle for sure. He used the handle to get into the lane. When he got in the lane, he knew what he wanted to do with the ball. He was decisive, and his perimeter shot looks a lot better. I don't think any of that stuff is going away, but he's not going to be ball dominant. Not as long as RJ and Elliott are on the floor. He's not going to be as ball dominant, which might be why in the end he doesn't play 30 minutes a game, which everybody's assuming right now he will play, because you need other parts on the floor as well.
Yeah. No, it's a good point on Seth. And again, I don't think Carolina's going to be in a position where they need him to give you 33 a night, even if he's just giving you half of that on a good night. I mean, that's
be a great game for him.
Great. That's great. Yeah. So, yeah, you have to look at it both ways, and you can't overreact to his performance too. I thought it was really good. A lot of things to take away from it, but a lot of factors going into it as well. With the first and foremost being RJ Davis. Talk to me about his health right now. Obviously got injured in the blue-white game, kind of hurt his back, and we talked about it after the Memphis game and all 3 things. Zero reason, you would play him against Memphis in an exhibition like that if he's not 100% healthy, because you're going to need him going into the regular season. So do you expect to see him on Sunday night? And do you think he's kind of back to 100% at this point?
Yeah, it was a precaution. If it was a conference game at Pitt in mid-January, he would have played. Now, there's 2 schools of thought about sitting him out. One is, there's no point in exacerbating a problem, and you get to give Seth Trimble an opportunity to do what he did. That's all good moving forward. However, I also think with so many new parts that they need to play with RJ on the floor. Mm-hmm. That's who they're going to be. So they won a game without RJ. They got that done. They did some good stuff, and they played fast like Hubert wants. I thought they defended really well in stretches, but they're actually a team with RJ, the reigning ACC Player of the Year. It's not exactly a silent sub where you put a guy in for a guy and you're watching the game and you never noticed there was a substitution. It's a loud sub. Adding RJ to the mix is a loud addition in the sense that you're going to see him because he's ball dominant. He's going to have the ball line. He's going to shoot most of the shots. That's just the way it is. So they need to play games together like that, because they'll have Johnson C. Smith, then they'll have Elon, and guess where they are? Fog Allen Fieldhouse against the number 1 team in the country. So getting RJ on the floor to play with the other guys is ideal, but I think because they made what I believe was the right decision to sit him out, they got as much out of the Memphis game as they possibly could. So that's why in the end, the benefit of not having him outweighs the benefit of having him in that game. But they need him moving forward. They need him for Johnson C. Smith, and they need him for Elon, because they need to know how they can play with him on the floor. With those other guys. I was talking about Cade Tyson, learning how to play off of other really good players. Well, RJ's out there. Cade might slide right into a massive comfort zone with RJ on the floor. We don't know. And suddenly he is a catch and shoot, spot up 3-point shooter because you got to pick your poison defensively. I'm not sure we'll learn a lot of that against Johnson C. Smith, but we will against Elon. And absolutely, if that's the case, we will at Kansas as well. So I don't think there's any issue. I would be stunned if he doesn't play Sunday.
No, me too. Yeah, I would be absolutely stunned if he doesn't play in the exhibition. Because again, like you mentioned, he doesn't need reps. He doesn't need to play with his new teammates. But again, if he's not 100%, there's no need to play him right now because he's going to be that important during the season. And again, it's the preseason right now, so save him for that and make sure he's ready to go when in the first game against Elon. But yeah, do expect to see him playing this Sunday. Flipping it to NBA real quick, AJ. We don't talk a lot about NBA on here. We did a football show as well, and we talked about recruiting. We don't talk a lot about recruiting on our football show. We obviously cover it, but we don't talk a lot about it on the football show. We're keeping the same thing with basketball as we don't usually talk NBA on here. But I did think it was interesting and something to bring up about 6, former Tar Heels currently being on 2024, 2025 NBA opening night rosters. Those players are Cole Anthony, Harrison Barnes, Harrison Ingram, Cameron Johnson, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Kobe White. Again, you hear 6 for a program like Carolina, and you're like, real, that feels like there should be more. That doesn't maybe feel like as many as you would necessarily think there would be and has been in the past. So, I mean, I just wanted to bring it up too. And does it, I guess one angle to look at that we talked about off camera a little bit is, does that affect recruiting? Because we know how competitive it is now with NIL. We know how much things get tossed around of this coach saying, this about this program and vice versa. Is that a cause for concern when it comes to recruiting? Is that something that could potentially be used against Carolina in recruiting of like, hey, not a lot of guys going to Carolina and ending up in the NBA, or at least having, currently at the time. How do you feel about kind of that situation? Because I can see where there can maybe be a little bit of a concern especially on the recruiting front.
Well, let's first look at those 6. Of the 6, 3 of them are one and done. 2 of them are transfers.
Yeah.
One played 2 years, one played 1. The only one of those 6 players, the only player currently on an NBA roster from North Carolina who showed up as a freshman and played more than one season is Harrison Barnes, and he left 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I would say it's safe to say that they're not developing NBA players with great longevity in the program. Danny Green was holding on to it. Wayne Ellington stuck around a while.
Reggie Bullock was around for a while. Yeah.
17 team, Isaiah Hicks had a cup of coffee. Justin Jackson couldn't stay on rosters. Kennedy Meeks didn't make it. Joel didn't make it.
Theo Pinson,
a little bit on an NBA roster. I would think that maybe Theo has a chance still if he really wants to, because he's not a bad guy to have on the end of a bench. But
no.
Nothing really. Luke never sniffed it. Nasir Little's now not in the league.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even think about him.
Should have come back to school.
Yeah, Nasir.
He had a foot out, kind of, and the 6 is a bad number. It's a terrible number for North Carolina. It's the smallest number I can ever recall in my lifetime of paying attention. And the fact that 3 of them were one and done and 2 others came from another school is a really bad look. And I think if you could imagine what opposing coaches are saying. Those guys, don't worry about whatever NIL stuff you get. What about after you leave? Those guys, they don't produce NBA players anymore.
Yeah.
And who can argue with it? It's right there in front of you. I think North Carolina needs to get back in the NBA game. It was once the hit program sending dudes to the league, but who's the last NBA All-Star to come out of North Carolina? Guy played in one All-Star game to play at North Carolina. Who's the last one? Do you know? I'll give you a clue. It was in the prior century.
Good Lord. You're that far back, really?
And he just got inducted in the Hall of Fame.
I was about to say, my mind immediately went to Vince Carter.
Antoine played in 2 All-Star games, I think it was. Vince played in a bunch.
Yeah, you're right, AJ. I mean, you mentioned some of the guys a second ago that aren't on NBA rosters, like I'd kind of forgotten about, like Nasir Little, like hearing that name being like, oh yeah, he isn't on that list. Like he has been in the league for the last few years. All of a sudden he's not on the list. Even a guy like Wayne Ellington been in the league for a while. Reggie Bullock been on rosters for a long time. Yeah. He's no longer on there. There's so many names that kind of pop up and you're like, yeah, like a couple seasons ago, this list could have been double what it is now. But the fact of the matter is It was, yeah.
And it was a small list at like 11 and 12.
Yeah. And now it's down to
Armando made it to the last day. Cormac Ryan with the Thunder made it to the last day. I talked to somebody who works with the Grizzlies when I was in Memphis last week, and they said Armando's a lock. And Armando kind of carried himself like he was a lock. I still think there's a spot for him in the league because when you can rebound like he can and defend, and Hubert will tell you 1,000 times over that if you're not going to be a star, if you could do a couple things at an exceptionally high level, it doesn't matter if you can't do a lot of other things. And Armando could do that. It just depends on what he wants to do at this point. He probably, I haven't even seen, is he?
I've heard, not officially as of time of recording, but a lot of rumors obviously saying that he'll end up in the G League.
I would like to see him make it in the league because I'd like to see him get some vindication
for sure.
From stuff that people have said. But it's a bad look to have just 6. And you got Kobe White, you got Cole Anthony, who was on a terrible team his 1 year. And then the other one and done is Day'Ron Sharp, who came and went. Nobody saw him play because it was COVID. And then you've got Cam Johnson, who used North Carolina to get the NBA, made the most out of his time in North Carolina. Harrison Ingram did the same thing. Harrison Ingram and Cam Johnson got very much the same thing out of coming. Now, what you could say, you can sell to big forwards or wings, hey, come here. We'll get you the NBA right away.
Yeah.
Because Cam Johnson was not on an NBA radar. I spoke to his dad after his first year at Carolina. I spoke to his dad, Gil, that May. And he said, look, Cam's coming back to get to the NBA. And I thought, he really thinks his son can get to the NBA. I didn't see it at the time.
Yeah.
Man, when we saw Cam early the next year, like, oh, yeah, that guy's got NBA written all over him. Mm-hmm. And his dad was right. His dad knew what he was talking about. So I guess the positive thing is, hey, if you're a wing in the portal, come to North Carolina. Because Cormac almost made the Thunder.
Yeah.
So, but if you're a high school kid, they don't develop them. I don't know. Maybe they fine tune but don't develop. That's what people are going to say. That's since this list came out. That's probably what a dozen people have reached out to me saying, "How come we can't develop guys?" I will say this: let's see the new regime kind of have chances to bring their guys in and work them through.
Agreed.
Because they have brought in freshmen that went elsewhere and got to the league.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, so I think you have to give this regime time. Haven't really been there long enough to jump to any conclusions about NBA in that respect. I do think Hubert does play a brand of basketball that maybe is a little bit more of the modern NBA kind of style. So maybe we have a conversation in a few seasons, and we're having a different one with a lot more guys being on some of these rosters. But again, something to bring up because you see that 6 number and you're like, man, that's low for Carolina. Should be higher.
And then you look up, it's the ACC set it out in alphabetical order. So we have N, you go up a little bit and then you see that 4-letter word.
Yeah.
Like 24 times.
Yeah.
Virginia's got 9 guys in the league.
It's a lot, man. It's not enough for a program as
Wake has 6.
Storied as Carolina. It's not enough. It's not enough for Carolina, man. It's that simple, and something they'll definitely be looking to improve on because it is a recruiting tool.
Add to that list.
Yeah, for sure.
No, the current roster will add to the list.
Yeah.
Will anybody in the current roster play in the NBA? We would think that Ian Jackson will. You'd think that maybe Drake Powell would.
Yeah.
Leaky's on our roster, by the way. We didn't mention Leaky.
Yeah. RJ.
Maybe.
Hey, it's not a guarantee.
According to the Overreactions, Seth is a lock.
Yeah, according to the Overreactions, Seth's going to be the first overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft.
Jalen Washington's got skills. He can run up and down the floor. His game's suited.
Yeah.
Potentially for that level.
Potentially, yeah. But again, no real. There's nobody you look on there and say guaranteed lottery pick.
Yeah, I mean, right now the league loves Ian, but will the league love Ian the same amount in 5 months from now? We don't know. Probably so, because Ian's got a lot of game. He just needs to play, just like Jay Tyson needs to play, just like Drake Powell needs to play, and it will get figured out over time. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we got to let the season play out to know what kind of player Ian's going to be. But I mean, all the potential's there, the game's there, but again, too early to tell with that, just like it's too early to jump to any conclusions with anybody else like we've talked about. So yeah, I just thought we'd bring up the NBA thing because I do think it's an interesting topic for sure. All right, AJ, we'll head out here in a few minutes. Just one more thing. Obviously, exhibition game against Johnson C. Smith this Sunday, 2 p.m. in the Smith Center. Real quickly, things, what are we going to be looking for in that game? Obviously, an exhibition game, you're going to see a lot of guys play similar to the Memphis game. You're going to see, hopefully, this game being used to put different rotations on the floor, get guys experience that haven't played a lot, particularly some of the freshmen. Can they get some confidence from these games? You're not just going to see Hubert running out there with the same kind of system he's going to play against, Duke in a couple months. And that's not what you want in games like this. You want to learn more about your team. And in order to learn more about your team, you got to experiment a little bit. So what are you looking for against Johnson C. Smith? And, what are you going into that game kind of maybe looking to learn about the Tar Heels?
The first thing I'm looking for is how confident and comfortably does Cade Tyson play with everybody else? Mm-hmm. And then when Ian Jackson and Drake Powell come into the game, same thing about them. Mm-hmm. Ian especially, he did not look comfortable playing with anybody else, didn't look very confident out there. Mm-hmm. And the confidence appeared to drain as the game went on when he was on the floor. So I'm going to look at the three of them, look at their confidence level, and how comfortable they are with the teammates, because they're going to win this game by whatever the margin will be.
Yeah, for sure.
So the production isn't going to be that big a deal for me. It's going to be how guys are mentally in this. How do they defend? Where's the help side defense? So they're stupid fouls. Like Jalen Withers can't go out there and foul out in a game like this. Like
you don't want that. Yeah.
And by the way, sidebar, I'm right behind Hubert when Withers picks up his fifth foul. And I swear to you, I am not fudging one bit. Hubert yells out, "What the bejeebies?"
I love that quote. It's awesome. That's just Hubert Davis in a sentence right there. That's it. That's Hubert.
The ushers, they worked the Grizzlies games there. There were two really, really nice ushers, one right here and one right here. And one, when he did that, he really doesn't cuss, does he?
That's great, man.
No.
I don't know how he does it. Because I talked to somebody. I talked to my dad about it. That was one of the most. There were stretches in that game. That was some of the most animated I'd seen Hubert ever. Like, he was legitimately like, and you were right behind the bench, so you can speak to this more. But I'm like, this is an exhibition game, and this guy's ready to rip half the heads off the players on the team. I mean, he was literally pissed at times. It was comical.
Last year had a heavy cussing roster. Armando's a cusser, Cormac's a cusser, Harrison's a cusser, and some of the assistant coaches, some of those guys, I can see Pat Sullivan and Jeff Leva.
Probably let a few slip, Yeah,
let a few out there. And Hubert's got this wonderful ability to just deflect that and let it be, because it's his own self that's not going to cuss. This year's team doesn't appear to have as many cussers. Jalen Withers is a cusser for sure. Mm-hmm. I don't see Jalen Washington being that way. He's such a mild-mannered kid. Mm-hmm. What did Hubert say that I adore? Jalen Washington's adorable?
Yeah.
He probably doesn't cuss. Now, Trimble cusses. Trimble cusses.
For sure.
He's cussed a couple times when I was talking to him. I would imagine Cadeau will come out of him.
Yeah, he's pretty quiet, but I think he's got a little bit of that edge to him, though. You can see it.
RJ's got a little of that in him, too, but he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a dagger. RJ's dagger can speak volumes. Mm-hmm. But it will be interesting to see what the cuss level is of this team. Last year's team was just off the charts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've heard stories about practice like with Cormac and stuff, but like, wow, I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. It's amazing that Hubert doesn't. I mean,
so what to look for is that. What to look for is you probably want to see a guy like Ian, a guy like Drake have some success producing, put up some numbers so they can get that feel going. It's like in baseball, somebody just get hit and you get into slump because suddenly you feel like you're seeing the ball better. Mm-hmm. In basketball, you need to see the ball go through the basket sometimes to feel a little bit more whole and complete. So they need that. They don't need RJ to score 30 against Johnson C. Smith. They don't need Jay Wash to score 30. So you'll see a lot of guys play, but it's not like they have 15 scholarship guys.
No.
So they won't play Elijah Davis because he's redshirting. I have no idea if Claude's going to play, but probably won't is my lean. Mm-hmm. And still got to figure some stuff out there. So that would leave you 9.
Yeah.
Right? 9, 10. Yeah. So you got your starters, and then let's say RJ starts instead of Trimble. We'll just pull Trimble off the bench for the sake of discussion. Trimble, Withers, Powell, and Jackson, and Lubin.
James Brown as well. Throw him in the mix.
Yeah. Okay. James Brown and Lubin. James Brown would be 11, and then of course Claude would be the 12th scholarship guy. Mm-hmm. So I think 10. You'll see Brown play some, but he's not going to play. He looked like a freshman on the court for his 41 seconds or whatever it was against Memphis.
He's a work in progress. Yeah.
So that's what I would look for. I think you want to see Tyson, pop a couple quick release threes, just to kind of get the feel going and have that try to carry over to Elon, and then of course take the whole load of it to Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get it gets tough quickly, AJ. I'll tell you that for sure. Isn't it? Carolina's going to have quite the test in the non-conference schedule, but again, that's not surprising. That's what Carolina does every season, and again, that's what prepares you for later on in the year. So yeah, it's going to be a fascinating early season to cover, and looking forward to watching them on Sunday as well. I know like Carolina fans will be too. So hopefully we'll
I'm looking forward to football in Scott Stadium. I love Scott Stadium. It's a beautiful place. Go see the game if you don't have tickets. It's not that far a drive. And then coming back, I'm going straight to the Dean Dome on the way
back to the Smith Center. Heck yeah, man. So action-packed week for Carolina football and basketball, and we'll be there to cover every second of it. But I think that's a good place to cut this one off. No need to talk an hour about basketball. Again, we're still in the preseason, so no need to go over here and overanalyze everything. And there'll be a lot more to talk about in a few weeks when the season officially starts. And I'm sure we'll probably do a basketball show next week as well. After
we'll do our preview pod.
Game, so
we'll do our preview pod because
true. Yeah,
it's crazy because I got to go to Tallahassee for football, and we still don't know when we're going to do the basketball preview or the season opening press conference. I hope it's Thursday next week because Friday. So those of us who are going to Tallahassee do that Thursday. So we'll have basketball stuff Thursday, and then Friday's Tallahassee, come back Sunday, and then the opener that Monday, and then a few days later, Lawrence, Kansas, Foghound Fieldhouse, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Yeah, man, that's a Friday evening game, I believe. Friday afternoon.
Friday evening, yeah. I'm flying in Thursday.
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet.
The plan is the Negro Leagues Museum in Kansas.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Kansas City. So
nice, man.
I've been there a few times before, but I haven't been to the Negro Leagues Museum yet. They have a College Basketball Hall of Fame there I went to.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, that'll be awesome, man. Enjoy
But I want to see the Negro Leagues Museum. That'd be great.
I don't blame you. Big baseball fan. I know you
talk about cussing. I'll look at the Josh Gibson jersey and think about all the swear words he used to fire off.
And on that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and get the heck out of here before we start talking baseball for the next hour. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones, another edition of the UNC basketball show. Appreciate y'all watching. As always, you think Carolina's going to, if you're looking forward to Sunday, and you think, let's do this. Think Cade Tyson's going to have a really impressive game on Sunday against Johnson C. Smith. Let's go ahead and like the video below. Let's get back on the Cade Tyson train, guys. Stop overreacting about one exhibition game and writing the guy off. I mean, come on. Let's show the guy some love below. And we'll see what happens on Sunday. And I'm sure there'll be a lot more to talk about next week. But appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell too. Go watch the UNC football show too if you haven't already. If you're an avid Carolina football fan, I know vibes are pretty low right now, but still a lot to be optimistic about, and still plenty of football left this season. So
it's a great show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
And we kept it under an hour too. How about that?
Somehow we tried to go 40 minutes. We ended up doing an hour. So I guess
we did like 56 minutes.
I think it was like 56 before you cut off the beginning and the end. So yeah, about 56 minutes. So short for us, I guess, when it comes to football. But yeah, guys, go check that one out after. I guess this one's over. So go check it out now. Appreciate y'all watching as always, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.